NATO headquarters, and a meeting between President Andrzej Duda and the North Atlantic Alliance Secretary-General, Mark Rutte. The Polish president continues to push for improvements in our country's security and defence against increasingly likely Russian aggression. I have submitted a written request to the Secretary-General regarding the upcoming summit in The Hague so that this matter will be brought to the table and that within the North Atlantic Alliance a decision be made that at least 3% of the GDP of alliance member countries be allocated to defence.
These are uncertain times, and I know some may have concerns about NATO's future, so let me be clear. The transatlantic relationship and the transatlantic partnership remains the bedrock of our alliance. President Trump has made clear its commitment of the US and his commitment personally to NATO. And it has also made clear the expectation that we in Europe must do more in terms of defence spending.
At the same time, an emergency European Council summit on European defence and support for Ukraine is also taking place in Brussels. EU leaders are discussing a plan to rearm Europe. But for Poland, it is our strong presence in NATO that has been and continues to be the greatest guarantee of security. Our security is in the North Atlantic Alliance and in Poland's bilateral cooperation with the United States. We want to be strong in the European Union, but we cannot let ourselves be carried away by what the big ones of the European Union are doing in the context of trying to create a European Union army, which is supposed to be an alternative to the North Atlantic Alliance. Our place is in NATO, because it is NATO that guarantees the defence of every inch of our territory. The defence of Poland and all other member states of the alliance was recognised as an official NATO doctrine at the North Atlantic Treaty Organisation Summit in Vilnius in 2023. Leaders at the summit pledged to ensure the ability to deploy up to 30,000 troops in as little as 30 days if needed. The initiatives are aimed at increasing the number of forces that can be placed under NATO command, guaranteeing the higher readiness of forces in member states and adjusting both forces and capabilities to defend specific geographical areas, while NATO will continue to support battle group efforts in Eastern Europe. NATO will not be persuaded to make concessions. Work to change NATO's defence doctrine and extend full protection to the entire territory of Poland from the first day of a possible conflict began as early as the 2016 NATO summit in Warsaw, a few months after Law and Justice took power. In 2023, the alliance officially approved the measures proposed by the Law and Justice government and President Andrzej Duda. Every inch of NATO land will be defended. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the change, and NATO's defence plans provide for this change of transition to deterrence by preventing access, that is, they will not enter. They will be stopped immediately. Earlier, during the Civic Platform PSL government, 629 organisational units of the Polish army were abolished. Poland's government at the time dealt a particular blow to the eastern part of the country. Attention, attention. Tusk's government was ready to give up half of Poland in the event of war. The plan for the use of armed forces approved by the Minister of National Defence at the time, Klitsch, assumed that the independent defence of the country would last a maximum of 2 weeks, and after 7 days the enemy would reach the right bank of the Vistula River. Documents emphatically show that Lublin, Rzeszów and Łomża could have been the Polish Bucha. Law and Justice has changed that and will defend every bit of Poland. It was thanks to the efforts of Polish diplomacy at the time during the NATO summit in Vilnius that the alliance countries officially recognized Russia as the aggressor and greatest threat. NATO regained its Cold War-era ability to respond militarily from day one of a possible war, rather than only after weeks of preparation. Poland, on the other hand, has embarked on the largest arms purchase in its history and has increased its defence spending. It is now almost 5% of GDP. It is clear that Poland is beginning to shine in the North Atlantic Pact, and this is supported by the Polish attitude to the army, the Polish attitude to defence that differs significantly from the countries of the Western flank. The Western countries have become accustomed to this American prosperity, but they are mucking about with the Russians, and the Americans are paying for it all. Our role, position and commitment to strengthening the alliance, distinguished from other European countries, is recognised and publicly emphasised even by Donald Trump, President of the United States, NATO's strongest power.
I'm very committed to Poland. I think Poland has really stepped up and done a great job for NATO. As you know, they paid more than they had to. They are one of the finest groups of people I've ever known. I'm very committed to Poland.
These words are also followed by specifics. Some 12,000 NATO troops, including 10,000 US troops, with heavy equipment are currently stationed in Poland. Our country also regularly hosts military exercises, such as Steadfast Defender or Baltic operations with the participation of Allied troops.